Hi everyone, it's Vicky here and welcome back to another Festive Fridays, and today I'm going for a tag. I'm working on a chipboard tag and this is about 5.5 by 4, and I will start by blending some color directly on top of the craft colored tag. Now in my collection of dye inks you will find 3 different shades of red, and since I will be blending on top of a very dark surface, I'm not going to use the lighter shade. So I'm going with Burgundy and Poppy Red. These two colors complement each other really beautifully, especially when you are working on top of a white surface like on a white cardstock you do your blending. However, here, since I'm working on a craft colored cardstock, you will see that those two colors are going to appear even darker than they actually are. Now you see here I'm using the Burgundy dye ink pad, which is way darker than the Poppy Red one, and this is really visible when you're working on white surface. However, here you see they look so much alike. That's why it is always really difficult to predict how the color is going to look like when you are changing surfaces, when you are not starting with white. Anyway, since I didn't do my test before starting, I'm going to darken up some areas on my tag by bringing in a third color, and in this case it is coffee. When I am creating a mixed media tag, I like my background to have some movement, let's say, to have some interest. That's why I don't like to have back there a flat color. I'm always going for lighter and darker. That's why I'm going to add a little bit on one side of the tag just to make it look more interesting. And of course, since this is dye ink, it's going to react with water. That's why I'm going to splatter a little bit of water here and just dump it with a clean paper towel. You can do that with a brush. I'm just doing it with the nozzle of my spray bottle here. If it feels that the change on the color is too much for you, then just go ahead and go over those splatters with your blending brush again, just to tone them down a little bit. Now for the next step I want to do a little bit of embossing. To do your embossing you need to make sure the dye ink on the tag is completely dry. You see here I'm doing a test. I'm just applying directly on top of the tag my embossing powder and it sticks all over the place, although I haven't used the embossing ink pad. That's why I'm going to clean it up, bring my heat gun and make sure that the dye on the tag is completely dry before I go ahead and do my technique. Now for the embossing, I'm going to use one of my favorite stencils from the latest release, and I'm going to use this lovely design here in a couple of areas. Now I do have at this stage on my mind that I want to create kind of a diagonal cluster on top of this tag. That's why I'm going to use this ink pad over the two diagonals where I am planning to create my cluster later on. This is not going to show that much, it's mainly as a background so that there is something going on at the background where I'm going to build up my clusters and it's not completely red. You will see what I mean at the end. For doing this technique I'm using my new embossing products, the new embossing ink and my new embossing powder. The embossing ink pad is very squishy and very juicy, which makes it super easy to go over a stencil. Now to build up my cluster I'm going to bring in some ephemera. So first of all, from the classic Christmas collection by Stamperia, I'm going to use the ephemeras from that collection as well as the ephemeras from my collection Christmas Plus, where you get a pack full of tickets and stamps as well as another one full of frames and letters and such. I designed my ephemeras in very neutral colors so you can use them with pretty much any collection throughout the year. And you can see here some of the ephemeras that I picked. I'm not actually going to use those candy canes at the end, but you can see on the right are the ephemeras from the classic Christmas collection, on the left are the ones from my collection. And this is where I get to play with all the ephemeras, try to decide how the cluster is going to look. And of course for this frame I need to add a background, that's why I'm going for green. I went with green just because this paper is going to give some contrast against the red background, while giving a traditional look and feel on my tag, since I will be using reds and greens. Now of course this is not a card, this is a mixed media tag, so I can go as dimensional as I like. That's why I'm going to use foam tape at the back of the girl, and this tag can actually be used as a gift along with your present for Christmas. You can write at the back your message from and to. You can even decorate your house with it. You can hang it on your tree if you like. And as always, you can see me here inking up the edges. I want to get rid of that white edge and also add that little detail of the same color on all my ephemeras. This is a very little detail, but it kind of brings everything together. I will repeat the same tactic for all the rest of the ephemeras. All of them are inked around the edges, and once everything is ready, I can go ahead and create my cluster. Now, the ephemeras from my pack are great to create clusters because they are going to give you all those neutral layers that you need to build up a composition, like I'm doing here. So you see I'm just laying the top focal point on top without sticking it down, just temporarily, so that I can arrange all the rest of the ephemeras underneath. If you notice, in terms of composition, I'm mainly sticking on the diagonal. Also for the bottom layers, I'm not bothered using foam tape to add extra dimension. You can definitely do that. But here you see I'm just peeling off the ephemera. They are self-adhesive, and stick them down. For some of the top layers, however, I am going to later on use some foam tape as extra dimension. I always like to use the bigger focal points to create the main composition, and then with the smaller ones like the flowers on tiny bits and pieces, I'm going to decorate along the corners, so top and bottom corner. And of course here comes the beauty of using ephemeras from one collection, because you know that everything is going to match perfectly together, and that's where my own collection comes in, where all the ephemeras were made with neutral colors in mind so that it matches with every other collection, whether it is mainly pink, red, blue, whatever fits. Now you see here I also brought in my basket with decorative chips. I have plenty from previous collections, and you can mix and match them, these ones. I like that they have that neutral color, and I am kind of addicted to them lately when it comes to my mixed media projects. So I'm just trying to find a few of those that match the project, and I am going to use a few leaves at the top and at the bottom of my composition. And of course, remember, this is just chipboard, this is just paper, so you can use your normal glue to stick it down. It's going to stick just fine. I always go with my matte glue from my collection because I know that it's not going to show when it dries, no matter if I make a mess with the very intricate designs. Now there are many options if you want to add a sentiment on top of your card. I decided to go with decorative chips, and this one says "with you." But in any case, you can use any die-cut sentiment that you can create. You can even stamp and stick it on top. You can even cut out a sentiment from the paper pad. I'm, however, going to stick the word "with" at the top cluster corner and then the word "you" at the bottom cluster. So I think this is perfect to give along with a gift for Christmas. I am of course going to add some golden touches by using my contour liner, and the color that I'm using here is gold, of course. Just a few dots at the center of the flowers, and then I'm also going to add splatters. You know that I was going for that. I cannot stay away from splatters, especially when it comes to Christmas mixed media projects. They kind of look like snow, so they really complement the project. Now this is going to be the finishing touch. I'm going to add some ribbons at the top, and by the way, by using this Christmas collection, the classic Christmas collection by Stamperia, I have shared so many projects, not only this year, but last year as well. That was the same collection that I used to create my big advent calendar, and I make an effort to use the same collection again and again so that I can give you lots of inspiration. So here is the project for today. I hope that you had fun, that you got inspired. If you did, don't forget to leave me a comment, to like the video, and just like always, you will find the full list of the supplies that I used down below in the description. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you'll all have a lovely weekend.